Yo, Africa, we all know the stories of European powers carving up the continent like a Thanksgiving turkey. But there were a couple of spots on the table they couldn't touch. One of those was Ethiopia, a nation with a spine of steel and a history longer than a CVS receipt. Ethiopia wasn't about to become some European side dish. They had emperors and queens, traditions that went back centuries, and a military that was ready to throw down. When Italy came knocking in the late 19th century thinking they could add another stamp to their collection, Ethiopia was like, hold my beer. The Battle of ADWA in 1896 was a historic beatdown. Ethiopian forces, unified and fierce, sent the Italians packing with their tails between their legs. It was a victory that echoed across the globe, proof that African nations could stand strong against the tide of colonialism. Now, before we get too carried away with the celebrations, let's talk about the 1930s. Italy, still salty about that whole ADWA situation, came back for round two. This time they brought scarier weapons and Mussolini's bad vibes. Ethiopia fought back, but this time the odds were stacked against them. For a few years, Italy occupied the nation, a dark chapter in Ethiopia's long and proud history. But even then, the spirit of resistance never died. Ethiopians kept fighting, inside the country and out, until the Italians were finally driven out in 1941. Now let's hop over to the other side of the continent to talk about Liberia. While Ethiopia was busy telling Italy to take a hike, Liberia was being born out of a completely different struggle, the fight against slavery in America. See, back in the 19th century, some folks in America thought the best way to deal with freed slaves was to send them back to Africa. Now, I'm not saying it was the most thoughtful plan, but that's what went down. These freed African Americans, carrying the scars of their forced journey, landed on the West African coast and established the nation of Liberia in 1847. So, Liberia became Africa's first republic and a symbol of hope for black people all over the world. They even modeled their constitution and flag on the good old US of A. But let's be real, folks, Liberia's relationship with America has been complicated to say the least. See, while Liberia was never technically colonized like its neighbors, it wasn't exactly free from outside influence either. America's fingerprints were all over Liberia's economy and politics, for better or worse, so there you have it. Two countries, two very different stories, but both united by the fact that they never became colonies in the traditional sense. Ethiopia, the warrior king, fending off invaders left and right, and Liberia, the child of emancipation, forging a new path in a world that had tried to break its people.